Welcome to the show. Oh boy, do we have a great show today. But first, do not miss out on this year's biggest giveaway. That's right, he holds up the prop. For the first time ever on my show, I'm hosting a holiday giveaway. But make no mistake, these are not just any gifts. They are hand-prepared and signed by moi, yours truly, the great Odersky. So you definitely don't want to miss the chance. Just go to winlarry.com and enter the giveaways right now. On December the 8th, I will announce three live on the Larry Elder Show on Epic TV. I can't wait to send you these gifts. Again, go to winlarry.com to enter the giveaway right now. That's winlarry.com. Be sure to hit that like button because I know you like this show. Hit subscribe because you know you want to do that. And make sure you click on the description below. That way you can be put on our mailing list because we have been demonetized by YouTube. I kid you not. So if you don't want to miss any videos, get on our mailing list. Now, President Biden, because of the recent mass shootings, is calling, of course, for a ban on semi-automatic weapons, not just automatic weapons, semi-automatic weapons. Media bias alert. After connecting the Colorado gay nightclub mass shooter to right-wing rhetoric, it turns out he identifies as, wait for it, non-binary. Massive protests in China over its COVID lockdown policy. And can a black person like Herschel Walker be a Republican without being dismissed as a dumb Uncle Tom who's being used? Now for today's monologue. The Philadelphia AG, who got elected with financial support from George Soros, has been impeached. He now faces a trial in the state Senate. He's accused of not prosecuting homicide cases and of being soft on crime to allow criminals to escape justice and to plague innocent victims.
Consistently dropping charges against repeat offenders, refusing to prosecute certain crimes outright, while also withdrawing and dismissing charges under the Uniform Firearms Act at an abnormally high rate.
You see, Philadelphia broke its record for homicide last year, and it's already broken last year's record this year with a whole month left to go. And before his impeachment, Krasner blamed the criticism of rising crime in the city of brotherly love on, you got it, racism.
Part of the Republican playbook, as you well know, is to point a finger at large, diverse cities and say large, diverse cities are lawless. Does that remind you of anything? You ever heard that before? Those of you in the press are students of history. You're aware of the Southern strategy. What we see here is the same old playbook, which is about coded and racist messaging. It's about blaming the biggest city in Pennsylvania with the most diverse population for having the same national struggle that we have with gun violence everywhere, and even having increases that are less than the committee's counties.
Pretty disgusting, isn't it? When you get your tail in a crack, pull out the old race card. Wasn't the woman on the Philadelphia House Judiciary Committee, the one we just saw, who voted to impeach him, pretty much white? Never mind. Not too surprisingly, Krasner wasn't pleased about his impeachment.
There is nothing new about there being resistance when you're trying to bring meaningful change and you're trying to change society. What they are doing in terms of impeachment is clearly without a legal basis. It is clearly unconstitutional, and that will all come out as this proceeds.
Let's talk about the real numbers here. Last year, as mentioned, Philadelphia set a record 562 homicides, and the city is on track to break that. Compared to last year, shootings up 3%. Violent crime up 7%. Property crimes up over 30%. Commercial burglaries up 50%. This was an armed ambush carjacking at a gas station outside Philadelphia, something that happens all too often.
Startling, ridiculous, and frightening. Some of the words drivers are using after seeing this surveillance video from a gas station near Germantown. For those who didn't see it, we showed them.
What do you think about what you're seeing? That's terrible.
You see four gunmen hop out of a white minivan on Wissahickon Avenue Saturday night. One jumps on the roof of the car, aiming his gun at the driver running away. Rich Gaines, who says he's always on alert, tells us he often thinks about these violent crimes.
For my wife and for my daughter, absolutely, and even for my sons to make sure they remember to lock the door, have the seatbelts on.
Investigators say the victim was not harmed as he sprinted inside the store for help. So far this year, there have been 1,047 carjackings or attempted carjackings in Philadelphia. That number is dramatically higher compared to the 522 during the same time in 2021. Kathy Dennison tells NBC 10 she was at the gas station that night about 15 minutes before the crime.
Do you think twice about filling up at night now?
To be honest with you, I didn't want to come here today. Okay, but like I say, it's convenient for me. And it just takes all the convenience out of your life.
Absolutely scary. Here's my question. Why haven't Philadelphians chased this guy out of town with pitchforks? And that's the elder statement. Chris Tremoli, a frequent guest on the show, is a columnist with the Washington Examiner. He lives in Pennsylvania. Chris, thank you for coming on. Chris, what took them so long?
Oh, it's just, it's mind-boggling how come it took them so long. I think they had to decide figure out whether or not it was a legal maneuver for them to do. But yeah, it's good to finally see, the Pennsylvania House Republicans actually do something that'll actually hopefully do something to solve this crime issue that we got going on here.
Well, that's my next question. Okay, he's been impeached. There's now going to be a trial in the Philadelphia State Senate. From what I can tell, you don't have enough Republicans to get the two-thirds majority to get this guy out.
Yeah, that is the daunting task, and that doesn't seem like to be the everlasting obstacle with Republicans. There are currently 29 Republicans in the Pennsylvania Senate, and I think they would need 34, 35 to get the two-thirds majority. So that's, I want to say common sense should prevail here, and that, they should be able to get easily 6 Democrats. I guess in a normal world, in a normal society, that would make sense. They would do that. But given the cult-like phenomenon with the Democrats kind of like sticking together and supporting all these radical, toxic, left-wing criminal justice reforms, I would bet that probably will not be able to happen, unfortunately.
Well, that's my next question, Chris. Why is this going down party lines? Crime is crime. And my suspicion is those who are getting killed probably voted Democrat. So I don't understand why people living in the inner city, Democrats, no matter the color, are not outraged by this.
Well, it's the biggest question of all. And it's the sad part is the fact that you talk about the people that are not outraged. They actually voted for Larry Krasner, the Philadelphia DA, the Soros-backed DA. Overwhelmingly, like in a landslide. It wasn't even remotely close. And they even tried to do so, like basically flood the primaries with candidates back last May, or in May of the year that he was elected, which was 2021. And then in the primary, it was either like not the primary or the general election were even close, and he was overwhelmingly reelected and voted into office. So, and this would be his second term. So, I mean, the big thing is like, do you get the crime that you vote for? Do you get the city that you vote for? And it is disproportionately impacting minority communities in Philadelphia. Right now, Philadelphia, I think, is like 45% Black, 16 to 18% Hispanic. So, I mean, it's a majority minority city. And these crimes are occurring basically in those communities, and they're still kind of voting for voting for politicians that kind of reinforce this behavior. I mean, I'll even go one step further. I was just basically about, a couple hours ago getting into a Twitter debate with a Pennsylvania state rep who's a Democrat from PA, and he gave like this whole passionate faux outrage on the House floor, saying that Republicans need to pass gun control laws, and gun control reform on like background checks and laws for like if someone lost or had their gun stolen. And that's not the issue that's happening here. The issue that's happening is like the left-wing criminal justice reform that are leaving criminals on the street and not in jail. They're the ones repeatedly not all of them, but there are a lot of are causing these crimes and committing these crimes. And that's the main issue here. When I brought that up to this state representative, he just, hasn't responded since then. I said, hey, I could show the data for you right here, and I'm still waiting for him to get back to me.
What's he going to say? Chris, how about Krasner invoking the Southern Manifesto? That was written by a bunch of Democrats. I think one Republican after Brown versus Board of Education, 1954, saying, we don't care what the Supreme Court says. We're still not going to integrate schools. That was a Democrat document.
Yeah, that Southern strategy myth is something that the Democrats say over and over again to try to justify their, behavior of promoting segregation, promoting the KKK, it's that, and then like the party platform switch, which you hear repeatedly, and not one person can ever show any evidence of what happened. And they like to if you talk to someone about this, it's like a rotating or not a rotating, but a fluctuating time frame. Some will say, oh, it happened in the 1930s. Oh, it happened with the Southern strategy with Nixon. It happened in the 50s. It happened in the 60s. They don't have any concrete, legitimate claim of when this platform switch that they like to say happened, and then they use the Southern strategy for Nixon as the basis of it, and it's just completely bogus, and there's nothing historical that would actually support it at all.
Finally, Chris, zero chance he'll be removed from office by the Senate?
We never want to say never, so I wouldn't hesitate to say zero, but I would say probably highly unlikely, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Like I said, under normal circumstances, this should be a no-brainer. It's just real easy. It should be like, this is what he's done. Left-wing DAs, Soros-backed left-wing DAs throughout the country have had the same exact issues, and other DAs who haven't been backed by Soros or promoting these reforms haven't. They had the San Francisco DA recalled. So it's like there's a precedent here of these are the policies that are causing these things. In a normal world, in a same world where the Democrats actually cared about Black lives and minority lives, and they actually cared about them rather than just say it to get them to vote for them, they would be voting to impeach Larry Krasner.
When you make it less likely for bad guys to get caught, to be prosecuted, to be incarcerated, crime goes up. Well, duh.